Good morning over here, and welcome to Journeying with Us Through the Scripture. We're back at it again. Again, got to be a little bit quiet. Little baby is falling asleep a little bit, so I'm not going to pick her up. Just let her stay there. We're on Matthew chapter 8, verses 1 through 13. And what it's talking about here is Jesus is just finished the Sermon on the Mount. And in finishing the Sermon on the Mount, he's talking about his authority has been established, or people have commented on the fact that he doesn't teach like the scribes who were their teachers and who would have relied on the authority of others to kind of substantiate their teachings. Jesus doesn't rely on anybody's authority. He says the way that he speaks, he is the authority. And they recognize that. The next thing that happened is there are two miracles that happen in chapter 8, verses 1 through 13. Two miracles. One miracle being the healing of the leper. The leper would have been considered an outcast. He would have been they would have had their own separate place to dwell. If anybody touched them, they would be considered unclean for a certain amount of days. That means they would have had to do ritual purification. They would have had to purify their house. They would have had to burn their clothes or do whatever they had to do with their clothes. They would not have been able to participate in any of the ceremonial traditions, like going to the temple, offering and making the offerings and stuff like that. They couldn't do anything, and they had to stay away from people if someone touched the leper. And so therefore the leper had to announce his presence by walking through the crowd and saying unclean, unclean, and people would walk away and try to give him a wide berth so that they wouldn't be considered unclean. And so this is that was the method, not the method, but the lifestyle that this leper had. And again, this is something that he did not choose. It just came upon him, and he had to now have this type of life where he had to walk around and man, it's a good correlation that I got. I'm about to blow your mind, I think. But I had to walk around and say unclean. So he comes to Jesus and recognizes that he has authority, that he has authority, he has the power. And he says, if you're willing, you can make me whole. And Jesus says, I am willing. And at that moment, leprosy gone. Boom. Diminished. Bow. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus just finished talking about, hey, you will know them by their fruits. And you will know a false prophet, and a true prophet, based on their works and stuff like. Well, for the most part, based on their works, you will know that their doctrine will be accurate, and if not, and then he proves that his doctrine is accurate by healing the leper, the outcast. So there's two different outcasts that are displayed here. The second outcast is the centurion. The centurion was again part of the Roman occupation. He was a military man who was in charge of a battalion of 100 people, and so he had many servants, and he had a multitude of authority. And he didn't. I mean, in another account. And I think it's Luke or something like that, Luke or Mark, where he says that in this account, he doesn't even come himself to Jesus. He sends his servants to Jesus to ask the question and of a request to heal one of his other servants that are sick. Again, he says, I am not worthy he said, Jesus is like, yeah, I'm willing to go. And then he's like, nah, man, don't even come over here, because I'm not worthy for you to come under my roof, and just speak the word and it'll be done. And Jesus is like, you know what? He marvels at it and he says, not such great faith have I seen from anyone, or will I see. And then he says, those people who, he says, then Jesus says, I tell you the truth, those people who believe who the Gentiles, the outcasts, those people who come to me that you think are rejected from me, but they are going to be the ones who are going to be sitting at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in heaven and stuff. The people who were given the law, were given the law, were given the Bible, were given the traditions and stuff like that, who depended upon their heritage as being children of Abraham, they will be rejected and stuff, because it's not about your heritage, your physical heritage, lineage, or anything like that. It's about your trust in your trust, and I don't want to say belief, because belief carries this connotation like it's just a mental assent, but belief meaning that there is knowledge that you have received and you act on that knowledge and stuff like that. So there's evidence that has been proven to you, and then you act according to the evidence and stuff like that. So the leper and the centurion recognized that Jesus has this authority based on what has been said about him, and so they act accordingly. And Jesus says, "Yo, I am willing," and then he heals both the centurion's servant, and he also heals the leper. Both of them considered to be outcasts. Both of the ones who are considered would make other people unclean. Like the tradition would have been that, no rabbinic teacher or anybody like that would have been able to go into the house of the centurion and maintain his ceremonial cleanliness and stuff. So they separated themselves from them so that they would not be separated, so they would not be ceremonially unclean. And so, but Jesus is willing to go into the places where people were unclean and outcast. Boom. Yes, he is. He is willing to do that. And he has the authority to take away all of those things. So what are some of the main things that we see here? Main themes, so you have the faith of the leper, breaking all of the traditional norms, all of the things that he knows that he has been adhering to seek after Jesus. Then you have the centurion's faith, who recognizes that Jesus has the authority, and it's not even for himself, but it's for a servant. And then you have Jesus responding to the leper, and Jesus responding to the faith of the faith of the leper and the faith of the centurion. He heals them both. And then the next thing is, Jesus marvels at the faith of the, and then so he heals both of them. So those are the main things. What is the one thing though that Jesus is trying to that is being communicated through these texts? I think what it would be is that Jesus comes to the outcast, and the outcasts are accepted by God. Now it would and cleansed and cleansed, and they listen, and he listens to them. So what would be a good illustration or a modern day reinterpretation of that type of thing? Just think of who do you think of the person as far as like the leper is concerned, that makes people unclean, has to separate himself from everybody, can't live in the same places that other people live, has to announce what type of person he is to everybody. There's a registry for him and stuff like that. And Jesus is willing to accept and cleanse this person's past and the very thing that makes him vile. Think of a pedophile. Think of a pedophile. Leper, or I like to say that the Samaritan, the leper, whoever is demonstrated as an outcast in the Bible, is like the modern day, will be the equivalent of the modern day pedophile or terrorist and stuff like that. So you have a pedophile who comes to Jesus and says, if you are willing, you can cleanse my record. You can take away all of the things that has me an outcast from society. Now, of course, it's different. There is a difference in that he committed an act and the leper did not commit an act. It could be related to the centurion in that he decided to be a Roman centurion and therefore made himself subject to the ceremonial restrictions by the very nature of his occupation and his birth. It would be, I would venture to say that the pedophile who has to register, who has to be known in the community that he is that, has to cannot work in certain places because of his acts, cannot live in certain places because of his acts, cannot go to certain places because of his acts. Okay, because of his acts that are detrimental to people. You know what I'm saying? That scar people. Now it would be as if Jesus healed cleansed the record of the pedophile. You don't agree? Okay. Cleanse the record of the pedophile. Healed the person who was affected by the pedophile. Took away the registry and stuff like that he had to register in, and took away all of that for the pedophile. It would be just like that, and people would, and the response by the people around Jesus about this leper would have been the same as our response would be, like, what are you doing? And that is and again, that is Jesus reaching to the outcast. This has been Apologetic. Sorry if I don't apologize. You guys have a blessed day.